again. For you, for you, for you, for you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. It is February and it's Impactful Conversations with Gayle Brown. For those of you who don't know me, I am an equity leadership strategist, a coach, and CEO of Brown Impact here in Northern California, but I serve virtually. And at Brown Impact, we truly believe our vision statement is women standing in their power, speaking their truths, and commanding their worlds. We truly believe that these inequities that we see at work and in our workplace are simply the challenges of our generation. This is a generation that has more knowledge than generations that have come before us, and we have more will. I think we're the generations to crush these inequities. Before we go on, I want you to just take a note and look at this setup, right? This is on theme for today. I want to thank my set designer, Mr. Ernest Brown, with all of these Afro-Futuristic little pictures up here. So Janelle Monáe, you might recognize her. She's in one of these. She's an Afro-Futurist. We've got an amazing speaker today. And she'll be talking to us. We'll be defining what that is because some of us don't know what that is. It's a concept that is being used in our literature. It's being used in arts. It's been used in film. And it's a concept where we as African Americans utilize this concept to reimagine our lives out beyond the current confines of oppression and racism. So, you know, it goes back, it has historic roots. So even with Phyllis Wheatley is mentioned as an Afro-Futurist. Some of you might remember George Clinton used to have spaceships on his stage. And the reason why he had spaceships, Parliament and Funkadelic had spaceships on their stage because they tried to think of a world where racism didn't exist. And they said that was only on the moon and that was in space. So that's why they had spaceships out there, right? So we have been doing this for a while, reimagining a world beyond our current confines. Another notable name you might note is Octavia Butler, and she did a lot of sci-fi. And she's from Pasadena, but she did a lot of sci-fi, so she is a name connected with this as well. Our speaker today is definitely connected with these themes. At UC Davis, they are having Afro-Futures. It's African, of course, it's Black History Month. And so they're having Afro-Futures week at UC Davis. So this concept may not be really mainstream yet, but it is here and people are all about it. And our next guest, you'll meet her just very shortly, is all about it. I wanted to call out someone else who was, you might remember Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, right? She was, in space, right? This was a space and no racism existed in space. So this is how far we have to go to imagine a world without oppression and racism and all that other stuff. And so that's why I'm kind of excited to introduce this guest to you today. Let's put up her slide. I want to introduce you to Dr. LaWana Richmond. Okay. And she is going to talk to us a little bit. This is a woman who embodies the principles of Afro-Futurism and believe it is society's path forward. She's taken significant steps to prepare herself for this path by acquiring various degrees and certificates in diverse fields. Her educational background includes degrees in business, information systems, and educational leadership. These areas of studies equip her with a well-rounded understanding of different domains and their interconnections. With a degree in business, she possesses knowledge of the organizational dynamics, strategic planning, and resource management. Her information systems degree provides us with a solid foundation in technology and data analysis. Lastly, her educational leadership degree supports work in effective management and leadership in educational settings. So, this is a person who is all about Afrofuturism. She even has an Afro-Futurism lounge. I can't wait to introduce you to Dr. LaWana Richmond. Let's bring her on screen. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm
Dr.
well.
LaWana, we met at just last week and you agreed to come on. I'm so grateful for you. But we met at the University of California Black Administrators Conference in San Diego, and where you are a leadership development manager, right? And on site there, you guys hosted this thing, the conference, and you were one of the speakers. And this is a topic that I've been playing with for the last couple of years. So it's so exciting to come to your talk and hear you speak about this. But listen, before we get into this, I'd like my audience to meet you beyond your very impressive credentials. And so I would love to know a little bit more about where your people hail from, where your family heritage, and how you ended here, up here in California.
Okay, so before the genealogy stuff came up, my family started in Byhalia, Mississippi. At least the antebellum part of my family,
Okay.
and my mother's family was from Mississippi, and they started migrating north through Ohio by way of my aunt Vivian, who owned a soul food restaurant in Cleveland
All
for
right.
years. And at that restaurant, all of her brothers and sisters, her nieces and nephews migrated from the South and worked in her restaurant until they figured out what they were going to do with their life. So in some ways, she was like our family's underground railroad.
All right. She was that light.
Yeah, she was our Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then on my father's side, my father's family is from the Midwest and Northeast. And I have a great grandmother Ada Hatton, who did a lot of work in abolition and helping during the Reconstruction in terms of helping providing aid to families and individuals, and helping them get on their feet. So I come from a family of people that want to help our people.
Oh, that's awesome. So those roots go way back. Now, where was Ada? Where was she located?
So where I get her story, it was in Cleveland.
In Cleveland. Okay. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how did you end up here in California?
So when my parents split up, my mother moved here to live close to my grandmother, so that she would have help raising me and my brother.
Awesome. Awesome. We do tend to go back to moms
Oh
when
yeah.
we get to have those kids. We need a little help, and we know where to go where we get our help from. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. I'd love to hear the family. How our roots are. Many of us, our roots are back south, and how we come to be here. Um, so why Afrofuturism? I'm really curious about how you got started in this work.
So I was doing the work before I knew what Afrofuturism was.
Oh yeah, let's start there. What is it? Tell us what Afrofuturism from your perspective.
Oh, yeah, well, let me start with like the textbook definition and then kind of riff off of that. How about that?
Okay, that sounds great.
All right. So Mark Derry, this a white journalist, was curating a collection of essays for a book called Cyber Culture Flame Wars, and he decided that his chapter would be called Black to the Future.
Awesome.
And he said, he said a lot about sci-fi and how it connects to our lives and our history with the alien abduction, alien invasion, alien colonization. But I wanted to read this part where he introduces the term of Afrofuturism. He says, speculative fiction that treats African American themes and addresses African American concerns in the context of 20th century technoculture and more generally African American signification that appropriates images of technology and a prosthetically enhanced future might, for want of a better term, be called Afro-Futurism. And so I had
Mm,
to introduce that because this is someone from outside of the culture creating something for the culture.
wow.
And if we look, there's a term, Sankofa, that more um, culturally represents and is more in alignment with the way many of us really view Afrofuturism. Sankofa is a principle that connects the past, the present, and the future. It's usually indicated by a bird. In fact, this is an upside down Sankofa bird, actually. And the idea is it's never too late to go back and fix it. Um,
Mm,
and so I love the idea that most people look at Afrofuturism as entertainment, art, culture. They look at Janelle Monáe, George Clinton, Octavia Butler, Tananarive Due, many others, and I appreciate that. But I like to take it a step further, and I practice what I call applied Afrofuturism, because I believe if you can go so far as to imagine a better existence or reality for our people, why not take that next step to reverse engineer the process and identify action items that will get us from here to there.
I love it. So practical Afrofuturism. I got a chance to, a colleague of mine went to a Afrofuturism conference
Hmm.
in Berkeley. No, I think it was another conference. It was another conference, but they had an Afrofuturism workshop. And one of the things, in terms of applying it, one of the principles we took away from there is this concept of possibility seeking, moving away from problem loving to possibility seeking. So we often like to talk about our problems at work. And so we encourage them to reframe those problems in terms of what you want to move toward. And we've actually used that in workshops with teams. And the outcomes is just so much more positive, right? And you want to work on that because it's all golden on that side versus working on a problem. Working towards something that's positive and futuristic is so much more fun. So there was so much more energy around it, right? So I'm here for the applied Afrofuturism. I love that angle.
And I center and frame all of my work with appreciative inquiry,
Okay, I know that.
because I feel like it's really important, especially as we're thinking about our future, to understand that the answers to the questions are driven largely by what questions we ask.
I love that. You use the firm that I'm familiar with, appreciative inquiry. Would you say more about that so our audience, to bring our audience into that? What is appreciative inquiry and how are you using it in applied Afrofuturism?
So, appreciative inquiry is a framework that was created by, I can't remember his name is Kevin or Dennis. His last name is Cooperrider. And he first used it at the Cleveland Clinic, which I didn't know until I started researching him. They were having a lot of problems at that clinic, and they had brought in consultants to help them solve problems. And he came in and said, instead of focusing on the problems, why don't we start by doing an inventory of what's working?
Mm,
And then instead of asking what the problem is and how do we fix the problem, how about if we ask what could be better?
mm,
Then how do we get to better? And
nice.
then what are the steps that we need to take to get there? And of course, with any project, as long as it's everybody's job, nobody does it. So you identify whose assignment it is to do X, Y, or Z. And the way that I use appreciative inquiry with applied Afrofuturism largely is in my Afrofuturism Dream Tank framework, where I take people through enactments or art, literature, poetry about the past and the present, to then challenge them to imagine the better future that they want. Because, as long as the idea of a better future is just this nebulous, unspeakable, mystical thing,
Mm,
how do you work towards that? But like make it more real by fleshing it out. And then once you've got like a clear vision, um, it only makes sense to reverse engineer the process of moving towards that vision, even if it's a long range vision that's going to last beyond our lifetimes. Imagine the gift if we had been born and come into this world knowing that there was an assignment that we could take on that would help move our people forward without us having to try to figure out even what way forward is.
I love it. I love it. Now, tell us a little bit about your Afrofuturism lounge.
So some people are familiar with San Diego Comic Con, which is like the largest international Comic Con in the world. People come from all over the world to San Diego every year to experience independent comics, film,
Okay.
collectibles, cosplay. And so about 7 years ago, around the time that the Black Panther film was coming out, some friends of mine and I, we were talking about San Diego Comic Con just being so white. Now, so what I will say is, since then, they have made great strides in becoming more diverse. At the time, though, it not only was it so white, but a lot of times Black cosplayers would be
Mm,
verbally abused for
wow.
cosplaying a character that was white. And
Mm.
it's like, how do you argue about the race of an imaginary character?
All right. We know. We know.
Right. And so we decided we were going to do like a little private party for all the comic book creators and artists we knew that would have tables at that event, because we knew that they were spread out, and even though they were in the same room all day, they didn't really get to hang out. And if creative people like to get together. And
Right.
so we thought it would be really cool to do this like VIP exclusive after party. And then someone said, we've got all these people together, and most people don't even know that we exist. They don't know that there are Black folks out there drawing comics. And so we decided to open it up to the public. And when we opened it to the public, I thought, maybe if we're really successful, 100 people will show up. For that very first event, 750 people registered.
Oh my God. Did
And
you
I
you had to change some things up real quick.
Yeah, I actually had to sit down with the risk manager at UCSD, who does a lot of special events and protocol, to kind of walk through my process and identify areas that the number of people would create stress and come up with ways to mitigate that. It went well, and so I've been doing it every year since then in the different locations. But we have vendors, exhibitors, music, food. Um,
Awesome.
um, Adult beverages, and of course, it's supposed to be fun. It's kind of like a kickback with vendors, and you can learn stuff. And then we have speakers and presenters as well.
That is awesome. You did that. You did that. And I hope you had some help that first year.
Yeah, and I've been blessed to have help every year, different help every year, but
Uh-huh.
it's a lot of work, and yeah, it's a good thing. I'm actually at the point now where I'm ready to like mature the processes and hand it off so that I can pursue some other projects.
Awesome. So you've mastered that and you're ready to hand it off for someone to keep it going. Let me ask you, what do you see as some of the outcomes? How does this help push the conversation forward? How does it help move the conversation about Afrofuturism, Afrofutures forward?
So in 2018, when the Black Panther film came out, the term Afrofuturism rose to prominence again. And
Okay.
since then, because of just how successful that film was, if it makes money, it makes sense. So all of a sudden, people are paying attention, right?
Right.
There was a festival, Carnegie Hall hosted a month-long Afrofuturism festival a couple of years ago.
Oh,
There's currently one happening now in Carnegie Hall and in the
wow.
surrounding areas. When we did a couple of years ago, we also partnered with the Schomburg Center. We did in-person and virtual activities. We had
Wow.
music, art, critical thought, literature, a variety of things. Most of the sessions that I hosted focused on Black women
Mm,
organizing for the future. Because if you look at our organizations, many of them are currently led by Black women.
okay. And
Um,
when you say our organizations, do you mean Afrofuturism organizations? Or All organizations.
I'm saying nonprofit organizations
Oh,
that focus on or support the interests of
oh,
Black people.
okay. Are run by Black women.
Yeah, many are. And, and that doesn't have to be the case. It just happens to be the case.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we had a session on Afro-Futurism and its global impacts at the first session of the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent.
Were you there?
I was on the panel.
How'd it go?
It went great, and the first session, the energy of that first session, because we're coming up on the end of the UN decade for
Mm,
people of African descent, and it took almost that whole decade to stand up the forum,
wow.
which in theory it shouldn't have taken that long, but it happened. There was some resistance. There are people on the general council who voted against it. There are many people who are afraid of it because it pushes part of the agenda that has come forward in terms of that forum has been focused on reparations. And
Mm,
there are many nation states that are uncomfortable with that conversation. And
yes.
so, but the forum brought together people from all over the world, and understand that every member state of the United Nations was able to have representation at the table for the conversation.
Awesome. So somehow Afrofuturism in on a United Nations stage has gotten attached to reparations.
Not Afrofuturism, the UN stage itself.
Oh,
So yeah, because the reality is Afrofuturism, while we acknowledge that there is a debt that's due, myself and many other practitioners of Afrofuturism really focus more on the internalization of the locus of control, and less of asking other people to like us or to do something for us, and more about identifying what we can do for ourselves
come
and
on.
making sure that we're doing it. It's just like how we use less than 10% of our brain. We in
Mm,
the African American community, I'm sure we're using at least less than 25% of
mm,
our actual capacity.
mm. Awesome. So this is a way of expanding our capability to use more of our brain. I want to encourage people, if you're watching out there, to put your name in the chat so that we do have prizes to give away, and we'll enter you into prizes. Dr. LaWana has a cool gift. I have a different gift this year. I'm not this time. I'm not giving away my book. So put your name in the chat so that we can know you're there and enter your name into chat. So thank you for joining us, Dr. LaWana. You seem to know, you seem to be got your fingers in all things Afrofuturism. Are there other colleagues that you partner with that are notable that we should know about? Are there other, like we all know about Janelle Monáe? Are there other artists that are Afrofuturism and leaning, futuristic and leaning that are on your radar that may not be on ours?
So I'm the San Diego coordinator for the Black Speculative Arts Movement, which
Okay.
is part of a global network of Afrofuturist scholars and artists, and even statisticians and futurists. So that list would be pretty long. And no matter what I do, I'm going to leave somebody out, but I'll give you a few names.
Okay.
Dr. Ronaldo Anderson is the executive director and founder of the Black Speculative Arts Movement. He also edited the book Afrofuturism 2.0,
Wow.
which contains um, content that I think would help someone get kind of an overview of the topic.
Mm,
Um, Pasha Womack wrote the first book on Afrofuturism, and the name of that book is Afrofuturism.
nice. Nice.
Um, and she covers gives like an overview of the genre, the realm of Afrofuturism. There is Oh boy. Tim Fielder, artist, writer, recently published a book called Infinitum about an immortal black man in space. John
We
Jennings. Hmm?
I said we have to go to space to find an immortal black man. But anyway, go ahead.
Here, I mean, he's from Earth.
Oh,
Um,
he's from here.
yeah,
Okay.
he's from Earth, but he makes it to space. Then there's John Jennings, who is an amazing graphic artist. Has done work with Stacey Robinson, where they did a reimagining of Kirby, which is like DC art. No, yeah, I get my DC and Marvel mixed up sometimes. And the book is called Black Kirby. And then there's he's done adaptations with along with Damian Duffy of Parable of the Sower and Kindred. I encourage everyone who wants to read something that blow their mind that about Afrofuturism to read Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. It was written in the early 1990s. Almost everything in that book has happened in the period between 2020 and 2025. We're not at 2025 yet. There are a few things in the book that haven't happened yet. So I'm curious to see if they happen before the end of 2025. But just to give you an example, she talks about a presidential candidate that wanted to make America great again. Um, in 1990, the book was published, I think, in 1993. So then Tanana Reeve Dew has taught courses at UCLA. She's one of my favorite living Black writers. Her husband, Stephen Barnes, wrote an alternative history book about what if America was colonized by Africans instead of Europeans.
Woo.
And that's a two.
That sounds like a worthy read.
Yeah, and so then we can't forget Sheree Renee Reed, Renee Thomas, who has edited Tales from Wakanda, Tales, Black Panther Tales, and
Mm,
published a lot of stuff. I just can't think of everything.
yeah.
And oh my God, I know I'm going to leave out. And then Zyko dos Santos down in South America, who's doing art installations and curating content and events, and has been able to get her government to help fund Afro-Futurist work. For people who don't know, Brazil has the largest population of people of African descent other than the continent of Africa. Um,
Wow, I did not know that.
yeah. So
Wow.
I mean, and the thing is, Afrofuturism, there's just like science fiction and science fact are really closely aligned with Afrofuturism. We really do a lot of work to do our research so that when we do write a story, it
Mm,
actually, we can make it make sense. Because the idea, like everybody has a cell phone now, but a long time ago, we imagined them in Star Trek.
that's right. In
You
Star
know,
Trek. And also, was it you that talked about the Jeffersons? I'm not the
yeah,
Jeffersons,
yeah, with the Jetsons. No, it's the Jetsons.
the Jetsons. You talked about the Jetsons,
Everything on the Jetsons is happening right now.
right? Right. And so this reimagining of what our future could be, really, I mean, we have to reimagine it to make it happen, right? To reverse engineer it. And so this reimagining is not play. It is
It's
play,
work.
but it really is, possible, right? We have to create those possibilities.
And we have to get people to understand that the imagination is a tool.
Hmm. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, and we have to remember to stay attached to our child mind and be able to imagine, because what happens is we begin to calcify our neural pathways and think that things can only be a certain way. And once that happens, we've like cut ourselves off from possibilities and solutions.
Dr. LaWana, how is this concept sitting with our youth? Are they picking up on this?
Oh, they love it.
Okay, good. Yes.
Yeah, in fact, most of, because of the work I do, I would say that most of even my social circle is comprised of people that are much younger than me, because a lot of people that are my chronological peers are, I don't know, resistant, afraid, uncomfortable,
Mm,
because a lot of what I do is challenging things that we held as inalienable truths.
mm, I love that. Do you have any for examples? Examples?
For example, just the idea, just the possibility that we don't have to wait for somebody else to give us anything for us to be free. That like George Clinton said a long time ago, free your mind and what?
The rest will follow.
Right. So I mean, and then so many of us are not free in our minds. We have limitations in terms of where we can go, what we can do, who we can be, or we think because I've been doing this for 30 years, I got to keep doing it. Or, I mean, there's, like the idea that I'm very comfortable with a career change at 55 if that's what, my spirit tells me I'm supposed to be doing. And the
Awesome.
other part is Ubuntu. Like I am because we are, therefore I am because we are, and therefore I am. Is it's just that idea of thinking like that instead of being individualistic and only thinking about ourselves.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited. You make me excited about it. You got your little fingers in everything, and I feel like if the UN is talking about it and Brazil is talking about it and the government is funding it, I think our youth grab a hold of this, and it could really make a significant difference in our trajectory as a people.
Yeah,
Just
we've got chapters of BSAM in Canada, Nigeria, Colombia, Brazil,
wow,
Germany, Switzerland.
wow,
Um, yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome work, Dr. LaWana. Any words of wisdoms you have for those coming behind you?
I would say don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to fail. And what I mean by that is, if you never fail at anything, you haven't tried hard enough because nobody's going to be great at everything. And I
Mm,
encourage you to challenge yourself.
awesome. Thank you. And what about if you could say a word about what challenges you faced as an African American woman in this space?
So I will say that I've been fortunate that this space is largely comprised of um, individuals, regardless of gender identity or expression, that are very open minded.
Good.
Um, however, there there are occasionally spaces where it's definitely a boys' club,
Mm,
and sometimes it's a challenge to make it clear. Sometimes I have to put forth more effort than I should in
mm,
order to validate what I'm saying.
right. That sounds pretty consistent with the rest of society.
Yeah, I used to work in technology, and it was very similar.
Yeah.
I'd be the project manager, and the
Mm,
vendor would walk in and immediately go address the tallest white man in the room.
right. Yeah. How long were you in tech?
Um, yeah, off and on, 8 years here and there, but you know, 2 years here, 3 years there. It's been a while. It's been a nice career. I wrote my first program when I was 12.
Whoa.
Um,
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
yeah, I've dabbled for some decades.
Uh-huh. You wrote your first program, like computer program at 12.
I
That's
mean,
it.
it was a very simple program.
Yeah, but how many people can say that? Right? Right? Were your parents programmers? How come were they
So
in the sciences or
I was a very anomalous child. So basically, they got a computer at my middle school. Like they had like I guess it was the early form of a PC, and they
okay.
got a book, and they said, well, because I was the kid that would get bored, and they'd be like, okay, well, after you finish your work, if you want, you can go in the office and play with the computer. And so I taught myself how to code.
Oh my goodness, you're amazing. You taught yourself how to code.
Like just very basic enough for me to pursue computer science later, so I could actually learn. You
Hmm.
know,
Were you
yeah.
part of any kind of Black Girls Code groups or anything like that when you were younger?
Um, I was in the math and science club when I was younger, and then
Uh-huh.
like I'm really old, so Black Girls Code didn't really exist when I was a kid. I'm a lot older than people think I am. Just to like give you a hint, my daughter will be 40 this year.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know,
Yeah.
you look great. You look great. That's all I can say. I had no idea. And I'm Black, and I know Blacks don't crack, and you still look good.
Well, thank you.
All right. So, other things I wanted to talk to you about, like slogans or quotes or mottos that you live by.
Well, I mean, I shared the I am because we are Ubuntu. That one is like, that's
Mm.
just how I try to, not how I try. I'm working on not saying try so much, just how I walk through life. I would say the other one that I bring up quite frequently is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Um, and working on doing a better job of embodying that.
Well, those are both African quotes. So, thank you so much. Why are you trying to get rid of the word try? Talk to us a little bit about that.
So my Star Wars hat's gonna show a little bit. Yoda said there is no try. It's either do or do not.
All right, now. And so,
Yeah, and
are you a Trekkie as well?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I will confess. In fact, I've gotten into Harry Potter and Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And, yeah,
All right. All right. All
yeah,
right.
I work out on a regular basis. I feel like it's my duty to consume content so that I can curate and give reviews, so people don't waste their time on stuff that's
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. 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 Um, you sound like you do a lot, and I want to know what are your go tos in terms of rest and restoration?
Ooh, meditation every day, prayer every day, gratitude journal every day. But I love getting massages. I love getting sugar scrubs. And just to keep my mind right, I go to the gym probably at least 5 days a week, even if it's just for 30
Wow.
minutes. Yeah.
So, even if it's just for 30 minutes, you're hitting the gym. All right. All right. And you finding time for all of that with your full time job and all of these other things you're doing.
I mean, it's probably the one good thing about being single.
Okay. All right. Well,
It's
I
not
didn't ask you about
only
that. So you're single, so you don't have to worry about kids or a husband or anything like that. You can just do what you want to do.
yeah, the kids are grown, and yeah. So if if the spirit moves me and I decide to move to Costa Rica, I don't have to confer with nobody. I'll just go.
All right. No plans. We need you here in America. I don't know if we're gonna. Please check with us first before you decide to move away. Although I'm sure they could use your talent in Costa Rica.
I mean, the way the world works, wherever you are, you can still be everywhere else.
That's true. That's true these days. So good. Any other thing you want to touch on while you are here? Anything else
So,
that you have your fingers dabbled in that is connected to Afrofuturism that we haven't asked you about?
well, I mean, you didn't know to ask me about this, but my meeting this morning was actually to launch a call for submissions for an anthology we're curating, and it'll be a series on parallel universes where we're asking for people to contribute their vision of our future. So we're looking at it being kind of like a FUBU version of our future, where we're curating stories that are aspirational
Mm.
visions of what the possible future is 100 to 200 years from now. So, like, if everything goes right, or let's just say maybe this universe is so messed up that we can't get to where we think this like utopian future is, imagine another universe and write a story about it and submit it. We're looking for stories that are 1,000 to 2,000 words long, and we will be publishing it this year.
That is amazing. How are you getting the word out about submissions?
Through our network, through people. I'll be putting the call for submission on my website as soon as I get the file Dropbox ready, and yeah, just through that, through WhatsApp, through social media, through in person. We have contributors and editors that are doing in-person events, and they'll be passing out flyers hand to hand. And the deadline for submission is April 24th, because we want to give people who are at the third session of the permanent forum on people of African descent an opportunity to write a story after the forum is over.
Awesome. Now, how many words?
1,000 to 2,000. So we're just looking for short stories.
Short stories. I am going to a Lifting All Voices uh, retreat for UC Davis. It's
Hmm.
African American Retreat for Black History Month, and I would love for you to send a video or something that could be shown there so that they could lend their voices if should there have any Afro-Futurists in the room.
Okay, that
That would
works.
be awesome. And also UC Davis has a Black Afro-Futures week this coming up this month. So I think they need to know about this as well. Let's
Okay.
connect the dots and make sure that we get some great submissions out there. Um, and is there any age limit with regard to who can submit?
7.
7. Okay, they have to be over 7.
They have to be 7 or older. Because we have a adult category, a youth category, and you might think this is funny. The youth category, we decided it would be 17 to 35
Oh, okay. That's the youth
because
category.
yeah, and then we have a junior category that's like 7 to 16.
Oh, very cool. Well, I
Yeah.
think it's exciting. I can't wait to get the word out about this. You mentioned another conference, though, the third conference on something that you wanted to give those people a chance to.
Oh, the third session of the United Nations Permanent Forum on People of African Descent will be taking place in mid-April in Geneva.
Will you be
And
there?
so I will be there.
Awesome. What will you be doing?
I'll be presenting at a panel on Afro-Futurism.
Man, I love your life.
Well, there's always like the other part where I have to raise money to like do all these
Oh,
things.
that's true. That there's that part, right?
Yeah.
You have to get the money to be in Geneva at the African American Futurism. I somehow imagined there was funding, but what was I thinking?
Right.
Um, one day we can
One,
imagine a world where it's funded, right?
yeah, I mean, I believe that there in our lifetime we're gonna streamline travel.
So say more about that.
I just think there'll be some innovations where travel isn't so daunting. In the same way, like once upon a time, computer storage was a big deal, right? You wanted to
Right.
make the file as small as you could
Yeah.
because you only had this much room for data. And now you have more data capability in your pocket than we used to have in a whole room full of mainframes.
That's amazing.
And so, in the same way, I think that we're going to pioneer travel where things become more, it just becomes more realistic and more efficient. I don't know if we're going to be beaming each other around or if we're going to find some other form of transportation, but that's like one of the obstacles to connection. And when you think globalization, you've got to have the ability to be local in moments for different things.
Well, I can't wait to see how that happens. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. We are going to take, before we go and talk about prizes and raffles, please, if you're out there, put your name in the raffle so that we can, you can be called for these great gifts that are coming up. So speaking of gifts, before we go there, I want to give you one last, anything you want to say to wrap up here.
Oh, speaking of gifts, so I have, in terms of what I'll be giving away, what I've offered is a T-shirt from one of my events, and a sticker and a water bottle. And I'll need to know the T-shirt size of whoever the winner is, but we can handle that offline. We'll get your address in order to send it to you.
All right, Marina, make sure you put my name in for a prize. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, no. I can't win. I can't win the prize, but it sounds great. All right. And my prize is, I think we have a slide on this. Dr. LaWana, before you go, anything you want to say before we head out?
Um, yeah, just if anybody wants to like find me on my socials,
Yes.
I'm Dr. LaWana or Firiali, and then of course the Afrofuturism _ lounge on Instagram,
All
and
right.
then of course Afrofuturismlounge.com. And I look forward to seeing some of you at some of our events. One of the things we created last year for San Diego Comic Con was Black at the Con. So we're curating like a green book guide to San Diego Comic Con that'll include vendors, exhibitors, local businesses, and offsite events.
I love that. A green book guide to to Comic-Con in San Diego. That is amazing. You are amazing. That's a callback to the green book. So I love that. Sankofa, bringing what was behind and bringing it forward, right? And reimagining how that can serve us today. I love that. So awesome. Anise Porter is in the house. Thank you, Nisi. We'll definitely get your name um, in that raffle. I have a giveaway as well. And so we will, she says, absolutely. We will be giving away this box of dreams. So this is a tool for dream interpretation. And they've got, I think we have they have cards in there. They've got a book that you can read about it. Cards that help you analyze your dreams. I can barely remember my dreams, so I'm not analyzing them, but I'm hoping someone will find some usefulness for this box of dreams. So put your name in there and we will see who's going to win. Give us about 30 seconds, half a minute, and we'll come right back and tell you who won. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. LaWana.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Have some winners. So for the Comic-Con packet, no, I guess it's the Afro-Futurism Lounge basket. We have a winner in Sheila Howard. Sheila, thank you for joining us today. You are the winner of the basket. So how this works is you, Marina at guestbrownimpact.com, will reach out to you for your address and provide your address to our speaker, and she will mail you your information. So you do have to give us your address, and Marina will be reaching out to you for that. So, yep, see her name in the chat. Reach out to Marina and provide her your address. Thank you. And the winner of the Book of Dreams is Philomena Boyd Pruitt. So Philomena, you have won this Book of Dreams. So please do the same. Email your address to Marina at guestbrownimpact.com, and we will get this book to you. Anise Porter, I don't know, you didn't win this time, but you've won before. So let's keep it going, girl. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. So those are our winners today. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and tell you what's coming up. For Guest Brown Impact shortly. Oh, I do need your t-shirt size. I do need you to put your t-shirt size into the email. And so who won that? That was Sheila Howard. Sheila Howard, please put your t-shirt in when you put your address in so we can get that to you. Some fun things coming up for Guest Brown Impact. I have to tell you guys about this. So listen, I am concerned about us not negotiating. Negotiating is a life skill. And so I'm going to be hosting an Master the Art of Negotiation, sis, Unlock Your Power. Negotiations are helpful for negotiating job increases, promotions, negotiating where you're going to go on vacation, negotiating with your vendors around the house. So negotiation is something we need to get comfortable with. And it's not a skill we spend a lot of time learning about. So let's see what the date is. On Saturday, March 23rd, I'm going to have a 5-star jazz brunch, so we can have a little fun too. Come out and learn some things. It's going to start at 11:30 to 2 because we are learning and we are networking and we are having fun. So it takes a little while, but it's going to be at the Westin in Sacramento. And Scott's Seafood puts on a great brunch, and so that's where we'll be. I hope you will tell your friends. I hope you will bring your friends. I'm just doing this to cover the cost of the brunch. So prices are reasonable. Please register now. I have some early bird pricing right now for $47, and it's only going to go up from here. So please do register at Master Early Bird. All right. bit.ly / Master Early Bird. That's where you can register for brunch. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be fun. Let's do it. Another thing coming up for Guest Brand Impact, I'm super excited about this. This was my game changer last year. I wanted to be at the Black Enterprise Summit, Women of Power Summit in Vegas, and they have invited me to speak. And I'm so happy to tell you I'll be there talking about negotiating with confidence, right? From March 27th through the 29th or 30th, I think. I can't read without my glasses. But if you want to join me, you can scan that QR code there and join me. I'm going to tell you it's much cheaper to join me here in Sacramento. But if you're going to join me in Vegas, there's some powerful ladies there. It will be fun. It's March 27th through the 30th at the Bellagio. Ernest and I went to the Men of Excellence conference in Miami last year, and it was amazing. So I knew I wanted to go to the women's conference, and I'm sure that's going to be amazing as well. All right. So I hope you join me. I hope a couple of you can join me. Next slide. Just a little reminder that we have a primary election here in Sacramento coming up. Dr. Flo Coffer has been endorsed by the Sacramento Bee. She is someone I know. She's a stand-up person. She's an epidemiologist. She's not a career politician. And she got off of her couch to join the race to do something about the homelessness we see in Sacramento every day. So I hope you all will get your friends and family out to vote for her. She's someone I truly believe in. If you have funds, any amount, you can still donate to Dr. Flo. She's running a grassroots campaign, so you don't see a lot of ads on TV about her, but she needs money to run. So thank you. I appreciate her having the courage to run, and I hope you guys will support her. One other thing I don't have a slide for in celebration of Black History Month. Actually, I do want to mention this, but February is Black History Month, but there's, Ernest and I are big time skiers. So they're going to have Blackout. Is it the first weekend in March, Ernest? Blackout is when the youngsters, not the National Brotherhood of Skiers, but a younger contingent of Black skiers and snowboarders gather together March 7th through 10th in Lake Tahoe, California. If you're looking for a good time, not everybody skis. It will be a good time regardless of whether you can ski or not, or go and take a lesson. It's Black History Month, and I love Black History Month because I always learn something new, and I want to share something I learned toward the end here. But next slide. I love this quote by Rosa Parks. You must never be fearful about what you are doing when it is right. And I love this picture of a young Rosa Parks with Dr. Martin Luther King over her right shoulder. What an amazing woman of God, and what an amazing impact she's had on our country. The two of them together, right? Next slide. Oh, we don't have any more slides. That is the next slide. We have one video though, one video, 2 minutes, 2 more minutes. It is a great story. I told you I learned something new every year. Remember the picture of Ruby Bridges walking, this little girl, like 5 years, 6 years old, walking with these state troopers behind her as she integrated school in New Orleans. And so that picture, I always wondered what it was like for her as a young child, but she talks about that, and we're going to share that video. She's got a new book out. I hope you guys will support that as well. So let's share a little bit in the words of Ruby Bridges herself from her 6-year-old perspective.
I feel like I remember everything, even though I was 6 years old. I think that if anyone had actually gone through that as a child, that you would never forget it.
On November 14, 1960, Ruby Bridges became the first African-American child to integrate William Franz Elementary School in New Orleans.
I remember the federal marshals knocking at the door and me standing there and wondering who they were. My parents never explained anything to me. I was only told that I was going to go to a new school and that I needed to behave. There were people lined the streets, and I remember that they were chanting. There were police officers, they were on horseback and motorcycles. I really felt like we had stumbled into the middle of a parade. I don't particularly feel like my life is my own, that it was destined to happen.
Now, Ruby is sharing her experience in a brand new children's book.
I think that 6-year-old is still inside me, and she has a voice. If we're ever going to get past our racial differences in this country or in the world, that it's going to come from our children. They come into the world with a very special gift, and that's a clean heart, a fresh start in life. This incident actually changed the face of education across the country, and that I had a role in that. I had a bigger calling on my life.
Welcome, Ruby. It's so great to see you. The book again, it's I Am Ruby Bridges. Boy, Ruby, when you talk about a calling, it's so funny because when you read this book, it's through the eyes of a 6-year-old, and you totally understand that she's looking through with clean eyes. She doesn't understand that there's hate all around her. What made you decide to write it in this perspective?
There's so many other books that I've written, but I wanted to write this one from my voice and reach kids sort of where they are right now, especially that age group, 4, 5, 6 years old. I mean, it's really hard to explain something like racism to a child at that age. But most kids understand the loneliness, someone not wanting to play with them, not really giving you a chance, to make friends. And that's what I was feeling at the time. So I wanted to reach them there, and I think they get it. I really do.
Awesome. It was so great to hear from her. Just thinking that, in New Orleans, they have Mardi Gras, that it's just another parade, not realizing in her child's mind that any of that was directed toward her. It's amazing how God takes care of us, right? So it's something I learned new. But what a difference she's made as a child. The fact that her parents didn't tell her about what was going on, I don't know. I don't know about that, but apparently it worked for them. And we think that those days were so long ago, but here she is, this little girl from that time, here as an adult, not much older than me, right? Here as an adult talking about that experience. So those civil rights times seem so far away when we're studying them, but it really wasn't that long ago, right? And we've got a long way to go in our country. I think Afro-Futurism is definitely here to stay. It's on the rise, and I think it is the path forward. So thank you so much for joining us today to hear a little bit about Afro-Futurism as we reimagine new ways of being beyond our limitations that we may be encountering today. So thank you, over and out. Oh, I do want to remind you that on March what day is it? March the 16th, we're going to have our next LinkedIn Live. So I hope you will join us. Yep, March the 16th on Saturday at 11:30. So over and out from Roseville. Talk to you guys soon. Ciao for now.
And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you.